Okay, small primer for people who I know, who I'm good pals with, going in, looking for build advice, playing Elden Ring, whatnot in the future, come DLC, things are going to change. But for now, we know what we know. I'm going to give you all the advice that I have in order to get good builds that are within a good relative power. So, nothing too absurd, nothing too skill less, nothing too one shot like. Stuff that's going to dominate the game, but still remain skillful and interesting. Definitely within what seems to be Miyazaki's intended metric of success. So, we're not going to do any sort of spirit summoning. We're not really going to do a whole ton of A and S tier type gear. And we're going to go PvE wise up to level 150. So right here, I have this build set up 150. I'm going to explain all these stats in a moment. But before I talk about these stats, I just want to go over the websites that I use. This is EIP Build Calculator. Mugen Monkey, just for starting class optimization for levels. This is Fextra Life. Unfortunately, we have to use this. Using user inputted tables, honestly, not even Fextras, it's just here. And this is the best formatting that we have at the moment. Such a shame. But this is the strength table. This is what I have now. You just look up Elden Ring strength, click on the Fextra Life, scroll all the way down till you see this guy's comment. And yeah, we have this wonderful table. We have actual similar ones here for Dex and all the Faith, Int, Arcane, all of the sorceries and incantations. So we'll be able to use that very wonderfully for this. Trying to pick out what you can and can't have on a build, but I also recommend keeping a Google document with everything in there just in case. I love using Google Docs, and I'll absolutely help try to set one up if you want. Again, this video is going to be unlisted. This whole series is going to be unlisted, just for the good old pals. And yeah, we have good restrictions here. We don't want to one shot. We don't want to shred the boss in 4 seconds or 30 seconds with like no skill. So we have with restrictions, and I'll get over which weapons and spells I restrict other than spirit summoning. Going 150. Dump stats not included for these stat stopping points. And I'll explain all of these. They're going to be for various builds, but this should be good advice for just about any build. You always want 60 vigor. Just good HP, survive a bunch of hits. Some people will say, oh, well, anything above, like, X amount of vigor, below 60. It could be 30, it could be 40. It's not worth it. You're going to get one shot anyway. And I don't think those people have played the game. That's just not true. I mean, those people must be running, like, very light armor with Radagon, Sword Seal, just a bunch of stuff that takes extra damage, right? And they're like, oh, I'm taking so much damage. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just don't. You don't have to, on a normal build, be getting one shot by everything. And you certainly won't be at 60 vigor. Have 60 vigor. This is the soft cap for this stat. Gives you a nice, wonderful amount of HP that you can work with. And then there'll be like Urtree's Favor +2 eventually. That will boost your HP even more. That'll be a fantastic talisman. Mind. You always want at least 20 mind, but you can go up to 30 for casters. 30 is all you'll need for a lot of your caster things. Because of the way that the scaling system works, you're going to be using a lot of melee too. And I'll go over the good stuff that way. But spell sorting is extremely good, especially with the Ash of War system, but also with the unique Somber weapons. Being able to use really strong melee options in addition to just casting, that's always going to be good. That's always going to be a balanced, skillful way to go. 100% have a melee option. I have many melee options. And with that being in mind, 30 mind is the most that we're going to go. And this is just on the low end, just so that we can get our buffs in and our Ashes of Wars. We're probably going to have 1 flask here. And then this is on the high end. We're probably going to have a couple flasks in. Get some buffs, not as much. Buff-wise, you're going to have a body buff. You're going to have an aura buff. You're going to have your Flask of Wonders physic buff, or buffs. And then you're going to sometimes use a weapon buff as well. Sometimes not. We won't be doing a ton of unique buff stacking. That's restricted just because you can go on a minute plus long buff routine and then kill a boss in literally 1 hit. We're not going to be doing that. Obviously, too OP. Part of the restrictions, absolutely. So no Black Dumpling Madness strats, no quick procking Kindred of Rod's Exaltation. Nope. We're going to have that be a dedicated setup if we want. But yeah, just no absurd unique buff stacking. That's just going to be way too strong. So 30 mind, 2 flasks is going to be perfect for your casters. In between, this might change, but a lot of times 24, 26, or even 28 mind I go to, depending on the build. But yeah, still, just think about this. Usually 20 mind, pure physical, generally. 24 mind, really good for physical-based spell swords. 28 to 30 mind, really good for your full casters setups. Endurance, 24 to 40. Because endurance is basically stamina and equip load, it's like raising 2 stats in once. Getting to 51 poise on your armor at least is going to be really good to tank light attacks, even from bosses. So just a simple quick attack, you'll be able to poise through and punish with whatever you want. It's just really strong. So just 24 minimum. Go up to 30, 36, The build that I'm going to be running is 36 mind, or endurance, sorry. And 40 is just going to be for certain specific dex builds. You're almost certainly never going to have this much, but it's there just in case. Strength. 15 is at the low end. You're always going to want 15. This is going to allow you to equip a large club, two-handed. That's going to be fantastic for dealing with a lot of enemies like Death Birds, and all of your miners, glintstone miners, what have you. Crystallians. This is going to be perfect for that. Not only that, but we also will be able to two-hand the Great Stars. So a lot of builds, being able to do like cold and bleed on an int build is really good. This is also the exact stat that you need to one-hand the Meteoric Ore Blade, which is amazing on an int build. It's just fantastic. So 15 int, or 15 strength minimum. 40 strength, this becomes 60 strength, two-handed. 60 of any stat is going to be perfect ending point for a lot of different builds. But specifically strength, because it has that 1.5 times modifier while two-handed. 40 is good, becomes 60. And it's a very, very forgiving stat-wise. Just strength is so good because it's so forgiving in this game. And big weapons equals big stance damage, which means big fuck-off moments where you're just demolishing whatever enemy or boss. It's a satisfying time regardless. Gotta love that. But yeah, 40 strength, very, very good on a specific build where you're doing some sort of weird hybrid that I'll talk about later. 54, when you two-hand it, becomes 81. Or I believe it's it's 81. And once you hit 80, that's the soft cap for strength. That is just a ton. And again, we can go up to essentially basically what looks like the hard cap for strength. And we don't have to even invest up to 60 for it, which means we can go on strength builds and invest in other things. And you can see this 54 is an amazing point to making a whole bunch of hybrid builds, which this build on this series is going to be a hybrid build. Dexterity, 16. 16 is the minimum that we want in any of our setups because of the pulley crossbow. Being able to use pulley crossbow with poison bolts is really good because of the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation and the Mushroom Crown. Being able to basically have an offhand that gets you plus 30% all damage, or at least all physical damage, so easily in that mid-close range is phenomenal. And being able to use this in a great variety of builds if you're just looking for that physical boost. I mean, plus 30% is ridiculous, and it'll stack with all of your other buffs. The Mushroom Crown also has great poise for some reason, so it's a fantastic setup. You're not going to have it all the time, but 15 dex is also going to get you a Gargoyle's Twin Blade, which, I mean, fantastic Twin Blade, especially in your strength setup, so definitely 16 minimum. 60 maximum. This is going to be for your pure dex build, just reaching a soft cap. It's fantastic damage. Intelligence now. 21 int. This is going to get you Roiling Magma, as well as a variety of other support sorceries. Not all of the support sorceries, but still very, very nice. Very, very nice. I mean, this is going to net you so much value in hybrid builds, and this is what we're going to stop during this Ruins Greatsword build, strength with a little bit of int. We're going to end here. So if you're investing in int at all, go to at least 21. 28 is for hybrids that don't exist right now. This is just theoretical. Because the Demi-Human Queen's scaling staff and the Digger staff scaling isn't correct. Like, it doesn't function like the Clawmark seal right now. The strength scaling only works for smacking with the staff, and that's really shit. So don't worry about that. But 28 int is really good because this covers yourself all the way up to Gelmir's Fury. At 27 int, you can use Carrion Piercer, which is great support and damage. Comes out relatively quickly and will knock a lot of humanoid enemies over, including Melania, I believe. It's really nice. And so you can combo that up with a charged heavy attack, and it's really strong. What a great setup, incantation, or spell, sorcery. But yeah, this will cover you for quite a bit. Really good. 42. This is for your Int Faith setup. It's kind of incomplete now because we don't have an Int Faith Wetblade or Int Faith dedicated infusion. Maybe we'll have two in the DLC. I really hope we do. But 42 is a really good point because this gives us Explosive Ghost Flame, and then all the way down from there, all of our Int Faith sorceries that are going to be good end with 42 int. 60 int is just a soft cap, perfect for an int build. Faith 15. This is going to be another must-have on every build, just like your 16 dex, just like your 60 vigor, just like all the bottom parts. 15 is crucial on every single build, everyone, because this gives you Flame Grant Me Strength, which is going to be a really good body buff. It increases stamina regen, which is going to stack with your Turtle Shield. That's already really good. It already stacks with like talismans and everything. That's fantastic. It also gives you plus 15% physical damage, plus 15% fire damage, and all of that is going to stack with Golden Vow. And Golden Vow you can slap on a dagger, so you can use Golden Vow as an aura buff, Flame Grant Me Strength, that's a body buff, and they'll all stack together. That's wonderful. 15 Faith is also the minimum amount of faith that you need for Gelmir's Fury, which is a fantastic, balanced yet powerful sorcery. It's just absolutely incredible for magma sorcery. Again, Gelmir's Fury gets a fire boost from Flame Grant Me Strength. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. This is also going to cover you for all of your other magma sorceries, the main one being Gelmir's, not Gelmir's Fury, Roiling Magma. That's going to be huge for any sort of gravity type manipulation if you're pulling enemies in with Gravitas, or the Star Scorched Greatswords, or any similar thing. Being able to combo that with this setup explosion of magma on the ground is quite nice. 34, this is the maximum amount of faith that you want for your int faith builds. This is going to cover you for all of your really good int faith sorceries and incantations. Again, sort of an incomplete build, but it's good to mention. 42 is going to be really good for your strength faith hybrid. So if you want like 48 or 40 or just 40 strength, 42 faith, this is going to cover you for so much. 42 is Black Flame Ritual. That's really good for big enemies weak to fire. 41 is Flame of the Fell God, hovering fire orb. That's going to come down, track the enemy, explode. It's going to knock them on their ass if they're medium or lower. Again, it'll knock Melania on her ass, set you up for a charge attack or what have you. Very good. Very nice. 60 is just, again, that's going to net you your soft cap. That's going to be good damage on a pure faith build. I believe I skipped over 28. 28 faith is really good for a few things, but specifically it's really nice for the Scouring Black Flame. That's what you get. So if you combo Oil Pots, Break Stance, and then use Charge Up Scouring Black Flame, that's going to be absolutely absurd damage on like whatever build involving faith. So I have a Crusader build setup that's 54 strength, 28 faith. That's going to be amazing. Use your Claw Mark Seal for that. Make use of the Oil Pots. Fantastic. But then there's also stuff going on with the Arcane. 10 Arcane. If you have any Arcane, a lot of builds don't want it. That could be a dump stat. It's going to be Arcane or Intelligence. That's going to be your dump stat, depending on the build. But a lot of builds, if you want some Arcane, you want 10 Arcane. That's so that you can get Bloodflame Blade. It's an amazing buff on a great deal of things if you're running a Strength or Dex build. Being able to buff up a natural bleed weapon with Bloodflame Blade is phenomenal. And you'll get amazing bleed strats even without investing hardly any in Arcane. The 12 faith will already be covered for 15 faith. That'll already be there. You just have to worry about having 10 Arcane. And that'll be the stopping point for many builds. 17 Arcane is the maximum amount that you want for any sort of dragon or blood incantation. That's all you need. If you're going like faith or faith hybrid, you want to do like some sort of weird dragon paladin, recommend going 40 strength, 28 faith, use your Claw Mark Seal, and then you have 17 Arcane, just so that you have access to all of these dragon and blood incantations. Very satisfying. 27 Arcane is the maximum amount for any Arcane weapon requirement. So, you want to use Arcane weapons on a Strength or Dex build, and you want to mess around with all of them? 27. 27. And then 60 Arcane is again just a soft cap for a pure Arcane build. Okay. That's everything here. There are going to be some outliers and dump stats, which are going to be just, you know what to do with them. If you have a build that's very specific and it might require this amount of dex, like Arcane with the Bloody Hillis, that requires 19 dex, then that's there. This is just general advice. Well, with this being said, let's talk about the actual restricted weapons and why. So here we have all of the weapons that are S tier. Let's actually move this up. S tier and A tier, basically. And then we have some S tier and A tier sorceries and incantations. Now, there are still some decent A tier stuff that we're going to be able to make good use of, and some which we won't. And I'll get into that. So, any sort of power stance, twin blade, or curved sword, super strong. In order for you to not make them absolutely ridiculously strong to an absurd point, to an unskillful point to a better than Moonveil point, while Moonveil has been nerfed, you have to actively be torching your own build. You have to make your build really bad on purpose in order for this type of setup to be any type of balanced whatsoever. Now you can still two-hand a single twin blade or curved sword or one-hand them, and that's relatively balanced. It's very fun, very effective. I love two-handing your Godskin Peeler, your Gargoyle's twin blade, what have you, twin knight swords. I love twin blades. Fantastic. It's the same case with this here. Wing of Astel, absolutely ridiculous Ash of War spam. Even better than Moonveil, and guess what? Moonveil's been nerfed. This hasn't, so we're not going to use this. Rivers of Blood, this has been nerfed. It is still absurdly strong. You have to be actually, again, torching your build in order to make this feel balanced. Same thing with Magma Blades. I don't care that it took you so long to farm them. I farmed 2 of them. I shredded through bosses way too easily. Not as much fun. Nowhere near balanced. Nope. Starfist, Iron Ball, extremely strong. Absolutely ridiculously powerful. Chunks through bosses like nothing. And it has DPS. It's the full kit. And it's just absurd. Like, Starfist is even more absurd. It's got bleed. And you can buff it with Bloodflame Blade, and it's nasty. It applies twice because it's a fist weapon. You buff one thing, and it applies twice. It's absolutely absurd. Death Ritual Spear, just Ash of War spam. Absolutely destroys big bosses. Same thing with this. Envoy's Longhorn. Absolutely demolishes big bosses. Again, you have to be with the worst build in the world in order to make this not obscene. Same with Mirai's Executioner Sword. You break stance once, or not even if you buff stack a shit ton. And then you send the Ash of War out. You have a bunch of talismans set up for increased damage on multiple hits. You're going to be shredding bosses in one hit, and that's not very skillful, not very satisfying. After trying it for the first time, of course. Giant Crusher is just on here for posterity's sake. It's used in a lot of one-shot builds, but again, if you don't buff stack, this is totally fine. And I will be using this in the series. Now let's go over incantations and sorceries. Common Azure, it's a one-shot. Carrion Slicer, this thing is a shredder. Basically just as effective as one of these setups up here. It's just absolutely ridiculous. This is a shredder as well, but again, this is just a one-shot tool. It's a rock blaster. Same thing with Meteorite of Astel. We don't want to be cheesing bosses. We don't want to be one-shotting them with one thing. No skill. Pest Threads. Absolutely shreds through big bosses. No skill. Just hit button. Bosses are dead. Wow, did it. Wow. Ancient Dragon's Lightning Storm. This is another one-shot incantation. Nope. Not gonna do it. Catch Flame. And just same thing as Carrion Slicer, but fire, so you can buff it with Flame, grant me strength. Absolutely disgusting. No, we won't be using it. This stuff is relatively balanced, but again, can be used to one-shot if you buff stack. We won't be, so we'll be able to use things like Theodoric's Magma, but more specifically, Gilmir's Fury. We'll be using it a great deal of in like pure int builds, for instance. Maybe in the DLC if they fix the int scaling, or the strength scaling on the int strength staves. Maybe we'll change the build around and use Gilmir's Fury. That would be pretty satisfying, but at the moment, no, not going to use it. But today's build, or this series' build, is going to be just me showcasing, progressing through the game with the Ruins Greatsword build. I do have to say, I've been using the terms build and setup. A setup is what gear you currently have on. A build is the total amount of stats and types of gear that you use. There are going to be generic builds and specific builds. I'm using a specific build because it is going specifically to scale upwards for the Ruins Greatsword. However, we still have a great deal of variety that we're going to be able to use. Pulley Crossbow. 15 faith for this, that. 21 faith for Roiling Magma, but also 20 faith or not 21 faith, 21 int for Roiling Magma, but also 20 int gets me the Falling Star Beast Jaw. Yeah, quite nice. Another option. Elden Ring and all From Software games, because you have all of these different scaling options for weapons here, there, all these different options that are going to scale with your stats, and we're still going to have plenty of upgrade mats for certain things. There are going to be different priorities, but there are going to be plenty of upgrades, plenty of options. A build is not a single setup, a build is not a single weapon, a build is the totality of good shit that you can use on a single character based off of the end stats that we will have. So, that's it for this precursor. Now I'm going to get into the game, and I'll talk about stuff while we are progressing through the game with the Ruins build. Alright, let's get into that then. Alright, getting into the game. Let's get it started. Let's just see setups here. Do we have enough room? We have a lot of different files. I think we do. We'll have to see. There's a lot going on. Let's do it. So, based off of previously, the Vagabond is going to be the optimal starting class for this setup. This build, sorry. I'm butchering it already. This build, at level 150, we're going to have exactly the amount of stats that I lined out in the previous section. But, I also want to mention, for most other builds, given the stat spread that I showed earlier, some builds are going to be Vagabond, some are going to be Hero, some are going to be Prophet. I've never had Wretch, Confessor, Prisoner, Samurai, even Astrologer. Sometimes Bandit will overlap with Hero, never ever Warrior. But the main three for stat optimization at the moment, pre-DLC, is going to be Vagabond for some builds, Hero for others, Prophet for some others. Now, for challenge runs, Wretch is going to be perfect. Your level 1 run, yeah, go for it. If you want to do lore throughs, you can absolutely pick some other options. If you wanted to do specific unique role-playing, I guess you could do some of the others. It's just kind of sad. Even for many int builds, you're just gonna go Vagabond. It just is what it is. It's kind of sad, but I mean, so many of the other stats are just important. Like, you're gonna need vigor, mind, endurance. You're gonna need a certain amount of strength, dex, and all of those stats being important on builds that are even like int. That means that statistically the Vagabond is going to be best because it has high in all of those. Now we're going strength with a little bit of int, so of course this is going to be good. We're going to load one of the ones that I already have prepared. There he is. Nice purple for gravity. Keepsake. Let's take a seed for convenience. Might as well. Yeah, he looks fine there. Got the purple tattoo and everything. His one eye with the mark around it is purple, and the other one is just kind of clearish. He's good. Now I'm going to skip over all the cutscenes and stuff. I assume you've seen it a bunch, so I'm just going to skip it. I am going to talk about progression. I'm going to talk about mechanics. All of the little questions that you might have from the earlier part of the video, I'm going to try to answer throughout the actual run. First off, I don't know why it starts you heavy load with these really questionable options. But the Vagabond armor is incredible, especially this. That great Vagabond armor. The Vagabond Knight Greaves is fantastic too. I mean, check the poise that we have already. 46. That's really nice. We are already pretty close to 51, which is going to be the magic number. Yeah, we're going to go above that sometimes with just big armor, but what you really are going to look out for armor-wise is the balance of 3 factors. Weight, physical defenses, and poise. If you have 51 poise, above 20-something physical defense, and you are medium load in your equipment, and you can just roll around normally, we're good. We're just going to two-hand the halberd for now. It's fine. Nothing special. I fully expect to die to this guy. I'm not particularly interested in fighting him. Might as well. Oh, we broke stance. But we're almost dead. No flasks. Bad setup. Don't care. Yeah, there we go. Skip the cutscene. There's another cutscene which we're going to skip. Yay, flasks. And this time we're going to go into our pouch. So the D-pad up is going to be blue flask healing. Not D-pad up. Yeah, D-pad up. So triangle opens a pouch. D-pad up is going to be blue flask. That's just going to be easy on controller. D-pad down is going to be extremely convenient because of how close it is to the stick. And you can normally very easily index finger into claw if you're comfortable with that. Super easy. And just go put your spectral steed whistle there. That's what I'm going to do. That's what my muscle memory is for. That's convenient. It's so close. It's so easy. I mean, certain times I'm just using my thumb, and so it's closest there. Of course, often, very often, you're going to be summoning Torrent out of combat, so with the thumb, super easy. We're in Limgrave. Let's go get some of the essentials. Might as well just grab that. If you're co-oping, you're going to need it. It's just really convenient. I'm not even going to talk to Vara yet. Let's just go over. So I'm not going to explain all the basics. I'm going to assume that you know how the controls work. I'm going to assume you know some Souls things. That you've actually beaten the game once and you're just interested in what I have to say. Trying to get some advice here and there. Of course, me being analytical Andy here, I've collected a bit over my 1100, almost 1200 hours. Also just doing a bunch of non-in-game shenanigans, just looking up and figuring out shit online. That helps too. What's up, Callie? We're just going to sell this rune, buy the crafting kit. We've grabbed the grace. It's time to go. I want one thing here. I want the Groveside Cave Grace. Might as well kill some of these soldiers while we're here. It's going to be really easy with some jump attacks and such. Not even a problem. Root resin is really nice. Especially on this build, being able to buff our stuff up. It's going to be pretty convenient. We're not going for Bloodflame Blade on this character. Except later on with the help of a specific piece of equipment. But until then, we'll be able to use that for bleed grease if we want to use bleed strategies. Root resin plus blood rose equals bleed grease. Of course, we don't have the recipe for that yet. A lot of people will say, you don't want to roll back in Souls games, you want to roll forward, roll into the enemies, stay aggressive. And that's just, you know, the failures of some thought. I like to talk about this because it's very pervasive, and it's a pitfall that a lot of people get into, where people are looking for something that sounds right. They put some thought into it. They're like, oh yeah, no, I put some thought into it, and they'll use that as a crutch. Instead of coming to a conclusion that is right, they'll put some thought into it, and they'll come to a conclusion that sounds right. But it's all wrong. Like, you're so fucking wrong, you know? The direction that you want to dodge in is going to depend on the enemy's attack, specifically. Not just, there's no general advice that you can give like that. There isn't. You just want to understand roll timings, which, if you're watching this, you already know roll timings. This greatsword is going to be good for breaking stance early on. We're going to use it as a temporary option. Should have gone for the backstab, but that's no damage with our wonderful armor set. Honestly, I don't know why I get the flail anymore. I'm going to get this grace, and then I'm going to go back. I'm going to rest at that grace at the gate front. Skip the cutscene. We got Melina. Ooh, black screen. I've never seen this before. Oh, how weird. It's a weird visual bug. It's probably due to easy anti-cheat. I hate them. Fucking easy anti-cheat. So stupid. Let's add to our flask. Alright, goodbye, Melina. Every time we have some sort of jank bullshit or frame drops, I'm always like, yeah, that's probably due to easy anti-cheat. And then I think of Asmongold saying, you know, we shouldn't have any more PvP development. It just should all be PvE, you know. It's just like, you know, I railed against that so hard previously because Miyazaki loves PvE development, or PvP development, like, so much in favor of invasions. So I just don't know, like, it's probably never going to happen that we're going to stop the development for that, but it might. If we have to have easy anti-cheat, and easy anti-cheat is just going to keep fucking up the natural game, yeah, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real problem. We got helm and leggings. Now, the Godric Soldier helm was not going to be as good. But the leggings, more poise, more armor, we love that. Oof, big attack. Not something that I could poise through without 51 poise. That's still fine. Big armor. We got it. Good stuff. Pretty much mandatory stuff, honestly. Now, it's weird because of that visual bug. It's not nighttime. It's daytime. Usually when you see Melina, it automatically becomes nighttime, and then you can just rest make it daytime again or just travel back to where I'm gonna go now, but I'm gonna level up and then I'm gonna make it nighttime. But first, let's go where we need to be. Oh, it's automatically nighttime now. That's so weird. I've never seen that bug before. Hooray! Bye. Okay. Yeah, I want the bone arrows, bone bolts. We're gonna buy a lot of stuff, but that is soon enough. For now, through the gate front we go. Oh, pouch, right. There we go. I'm not gonna get every single item. Or consumable. Or I guess crafting material, right? Just gonna get the really good ones. I have no idea where they come from. Okay. As long as we're looking away from the... Oh, God. Unlucky. Unlucky. I was about to say, as long as we're looking away from the wolves, there's less likelihood of them being aggressive due to the systems in the game. They don't want you to be fucking destroyed from off-screen. So if you don't look at something, it's less likely to attack you. Unless it's like a boss that you absolutely should be looking at. Gonna talk to her 3 times and just gonna get the jellyfish. This is really just getting rid of her dialogue because it's important for 2 ancient dragon smithing stones later on. And a golden seed. Alright, we've got a nice little guy up here. Break the stance. Take the grab. That's weird. He hasn't been stance broken again. Instead, his stance has been somehow reset. I don't understand. Not anymore. Sometimes the stance will be reset, sometimes it won't. It seems to be complete RNG. Alright. Good old strength knot. That's going to be really good in the early game. Alright, now we want to go down below. This little road here is going to take us to instant poise. Yeah, this is going to take us to an important place. Got instant poise set up to control. Oh, Kaiden armor. Pretty cool. Decent chop here. Also a really good spot for a nighttime boss. Okay. What do we want? I'll buy Spinning Slash for now. Let's make it daytime. I just don't want to encounter a death bird near here or the bell-bearing hunter or anything. Not interested. But for now, we have another little Ash of War to get. We got one. We got two. We're going to get our third. There's also a scarab up there. All of this is good stuff. Hello. While he's golden vowing, we just get free damage in. Get the stam. Okay. And there's Golden Vow. Super useful. We'll be putting it on a simple dagger and just using it. Whee! Somber 1. Hooray! That's a good item down there, except not exactly for this setup at the moment. I might as well grab it now. Come on. There we go. The lance. Now let's go back up and around. I'm literally only going to use that lance for Rykard. Being able to power stance a lance and the good old Serpent Hunter will have us access to the power stance move, and we'll be able to use that with the air that comes out of the Serpent Hunter in that boss arena. So we'll be dealing absolutely nasty damage to Rykard. Important dungeon here. We'll be heading back here later. And there's a nice talisman out here too. Just beyond this little golem here. It's unfortunate that these guys are half health because they're so easy. There we go, Lance Talisman. And now we can head back to Bernal. Whole bunch more stuff to do. More things to get. We just need to head over this way. We're not going to be going in there and getting those items. I believe there's like one Exalted Flesh and then a shield. Nothing too interesting. There we go. Now this is important. Yes. Alright. Another Exalted Flesh. Exalted Flesh is a nice body buff for pure physical damage. I believe it's 30%, so quite a lot. Or could be 20%. I don't use it. Flame Grant Me Strength is just better anyway because of the stamina regen and also the fire. Especially on this build, being able to infuse something fire is going to be really good because of the high strength stat. Ooh, unfortunate. Both times. Just keep a good radius going. Really unfortunate. Oh my god. Okay, well, he just kind of gave up after a bit. Okay, we'll take it. We'll get a decent amount of this stuff, but I'll save this mask for later. It's more fashion, but I think we'll be alright. We'll be okay without it for now. Don't want to spawn any of the skeletons. Decent little quest here. We'll be able to make use of one of the buffs that he gives once we actually are brothers in arms or whatever. He also makes way too much of a fuss about the Tibia Mariner. It's so strange. You can totally use the Exalted Flesh here if you want to. It's just so easy. I don't care. Let's get the stand back. Oh, I should also have the... let's actually swap this real quick. Why can't I change it this time? Thank you. Yeah. Lance Talisman for more effective damage. Absolutely. Just back up, back up. There we go. Dead boss. More smithing stones. And yet that death root is really important. Gotta find D. B. There you are. Absolutely. Okay, that's all of his text. His dialogue. Time to get the dog talisman. That's not... okay. Corpse head. Praise the dog. Yes. Whenever there's a scarab like this, nice little teardrop scarab next to the ledge, the game's trying to tell you, hey, you can go down there. Nice little Ash of War. More wolves from the sky. We can, for the most part, ignore this combat. Bye-bye. Don't fight me. I'm going. Go take care of that rune bear. Let's make some physic. This is a really important part of early game. Really important. Being able to farm the fellows and buy a bunch of stuff at the shops is just huge, huge. Let's talk to this guy first before resting at that grace. Very nice. Oh, Melina, can you not make my screen black? Okay, wonderful. Wonderful.
Forgive me to determine if you had. It seems torrent, whereas there is, but I can take gathering thing. Very well at my hand.
Let's go. Okay, let's put this in the pouch as well. Get some levels. Although, I could buy something from this guy. Order's Blade. We'll be able to use that to great effect. We will be dominating the Deathbirds with that. But yeah, now we have Round Table Hold. Very cool. The Twin Maiden Husks are going to be a great shop for us. That's going to be fantastic. But let's head back. Let's get another grace. Slightly more important grace than this one that we just rested at. We're just going to ignore all the fellows here. Stay out of their aggro radius. They're very much glass cannons, and we will be farming them for an easy 1,000 plus runes every time. Okay. That being said, we have a fantastic start. Great deal of Ashes of Wars. A fantastic set of a few talismans. Already the armor is sick. We've got Round Table Hold. Let's just sort out some of the nonsense from our inventory. Might as well keep it clean. Alright, nice and clean. Alright. Next time we're going to be gathering a whole bunch more stuff. Going on more trips, finding more merchants. And once we're done finding the merchants, I'm going to get back grinding all these little fellas out. But in between this episode and that episode, I'm going to get myself to 20 vigor. I'm going to get to 15 endurance. I'm going to set my dex to 16. And I'm going to grab 15 strength. So it's going to be not too many times leveling up, but I'll just give you one example of killing a fella. Super easy. Okay. He didn't launch. He didn't launch. This is scuffed. Scuffed, I tell you. And even though it's scuffed, that took him out. Let's get a slightly better example. It's actually not missed this jump attack this time. Time to charge R2 right. Break the stance. Take the grab. Second charge R2. Yeah. That's how easy it can be. That's how easy it's going to be most of the time. And with that, I can already level up. Twice. Alright, well, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys some other time. Bye.